Welcome to part 5 featuring the Line 6 POD HD500X. In the previous videos you will have seen me playing the pod directly into the mixing desk. This video concentrates on connecting the pod straight into a normal guitar amp. There are a number of ways to connect the pod to the amp. The 4-cable method, using the amp's input along with the amp's effect send and return loop. Plugging into the power amp section of the amp and using the pod as the amp's preamp. Or merely plugging the output of the pod straight into the input of the amp. I'm going to try and keep things as simple as possible and plug the pod straight into the front end of the guitar amp. The first thing to do is to take the 1/4 inch output from the pod and plug it into the input of the amp. Moving to the front of the pod, the 1/4 inch out switch on the pod must be set from line to amp. The next step is to go into the output options menu. These output settings are different EQ curves to help set up the pod for the various output options, such as direct recording, guitar amps, and going straight into the power amp section of an amp. My advice is to try all the settings. You might be surprised that the best sounding setting isn't always the correct one, but that's okay, because after all, it's the sound that matters most. I'm plugging into the front end of a Marshall TSL 602 combo, and I found that for this amp, the best output setting is the combo power amp mode. By using this mode, most of the patches that I created for recording direct sound just as good when going straight into the front of the amp. It saved me a lot of time and I haven't had to go and make new patches for a live performance. Bear in mind that whilst this setting works for this particular amp, it might not work for every amp. I've tried to get as close as possible to the sound that I'm hearing in the room, so I've used an SM57 on the speaker cone and moved it around until what I'm hearing in the room is as close as possible to the recorded sound. I haven't performed any post EQ as that would defeat the object, and I've used a few tones that range from clean to crunch to solo tones with a fair amount of gain. The pod was plugged into the clean channel of the amp and the amp set completely clean. The EQ on the amp was pretty much in the center. I was going for quite a generic clean tone. This is what the amp sounded like with the pod bypassed. A lot of users have asked me how I go about getting my patch levels the same, from clean to crunch to high gain. What I've found is no amount of level measuring using dB meters, etc. will get you there. This is a constant trial and error exercise. And what I've found is I would leave a certain amount of headroom in my patch level setting, whereas if I'm standing on stage with my amp behind me, I've got a certain feel about how loud I am between different patches. And if I stand on a patch and I can hear immediately I'm too soft, it's very easy just to turn up that patch level and hit save. In this way, you will slowly get your patches closer and closer to the optimum levels. Obviously, certain patches need to be louder than others, but you're only going to find this out doing lots of gigs in various places. Your amp volume becomes your master volume. So once your patches are all leveled out, then it's a matter of just turning up your amp or turning down your amp to get the optimum level to front of house. Thanks for watching. And as usual, there are patches available on my website for download. The website is www.peterhanmer.co.za.